Hello and welcome back to the Farmer's Guide podcast. I'm Daniel Hodge, machinery reporter at Farmer's Guide, and I'm joined by
Sarah Kidby. I'm the deputy editor and livestock editor.
Today we're kicking off with the first episode of our Farmers' Voices series, where we have one-to-one chats with important voices in the industry and let you have a listen. Today's episode is sponsored by Larkin Gowan, and we thank them for their support.
So for this episode, we spoke to Bex Tonks, who's the CEO of St Ewe free-range eggs. The company recently got listed on the Sunday Times 100 fastest growing private companies. And we chat to Bex about how she returned to the family farm after a period of time working in a really varied range of different roles. And we speak to her about her whole farming journey, her thoughts on the industry, even down to her favourite egg dishes. And we had a really interesting chat with her.
So we don't want to waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it.
Could you just briefly introduce yourself and St Ewe Eggs?
Yes, so my name's Bex Tonks and I head St Ewe Free Range Eggs, and I'm very clear about heading it because I've got an amazing team that actually run it. So I'm just the face of the business, really. So we started St Ewe Free Range Eggs back in 2007, 2006 really, when we started sort of building things. And we were already poultry producers producing free range eggs, and then we went into we decided to start packing our own eggs because we didn't really know where they ended up, and we put lots of effort into feeding the hens really well and producing beautiful eggs, and not really knowing what happened after that. So it was kind of wanting to be know your own destiny kind of thing. So we started branding our own products, and we went for Lion accreditation, British Red Lion accreditation from the get-go, and off we went. We started with Asda and Sainsbury's, and just locally, but they wanted eggs within 30 miles of the farm, which obviously in Cornwall most of that is sea, so I kind of knew we were going to be out of county fairly quickly, so we very much aimed for a West Country brand, and today we are now a national brand, which is absolutely awesome. So yeah,
Great.
So obviously you kind of grew up surrounded by farming.
Yeah.
But it looks like you left the farm when you turned 19, but you came back a decade later.
Yes.
What was it that kind of pushed you back into agriculture, and what made you stay?
Oh, okay. So I absolutely love farming. I love animals, and it's quite a nice sense of achievement every day when you're feeding them up and putting them to bed at night and so on, and I really like that. I suppose some people might like really enjoying the ironing. You feel like you've achieved something,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I left the farm quite young. I met my first husband, which was a bit of a disaster, but ended up running pubs for nearly 14 years. That was quite an eye-opener, the hospitality industry, and has really kind of helped now with our business and what we do and how we do it as well. So lots of things learned. I came back. I'm trying to think when I moved back again, but basically 2 little boys, bringing them up in a pub was not ideal, and a failed marriage. So it was a really great reason to return home.
And how has the business kind of evolved over the years?
In stages. So my dad has been an amazing sort of mentor for me, and he's just shown me, I think, that anything is possible. If there's a problem, you get on and you try and fix that yourself. You can't just call in a specialist because it's really expensive to do that. So you have to really kind of learn the trade, I suppose, whether it's plumbing or electrics or whatever. So I guess it puts you into a bit of a mindset that actually you can you can do lots of things around a farm, whether it's building a packing centre or building a hen house or a cow shed. You can work it all out. It's not impossible. And I think that's stood us in good stead. Dad was very he's a very cautious person and would only, very much organically grow the business, so reinvest what we've earned. I, on the other hand, are completely the other way and we're ready to take a risk. So, so we've always kind of grown steadily over the last 20 years and just investing in a packing centre that's just big enough. And in fact, when we should have built it 2 or 3 times the size, because it would have been a whole lot, you would have saved a whole lot more money in the long run rather than building and adding this shed on and that shed on and so on. So it's just learning over those years and around the market opportunities and farmers and the way what people want and how to make people feel that they can trust you and build confidence and it just takes time and there's lots of learnings along the way.
I wanted to ask you as well, actually, about I saw that you obviously have the sort of diverse and the premium egg ranges as well, and the sort of the rich yolk and the super eggs, which I thought was really interesting. And I wondered what sort of prompted you to kind of diversify a little bit more in the products that you were offering.
I think there is maybe initially a bit of a gut feel that there's an opportunity in the market. Also, when I was much younger, I had my rescued chicken she'd broken her leg, so she lived up at the house, Chuk Chuk, and she used to eat the rose hips in the garden. And she used to produce amazingly coloured egg yolks. I mean, it was insane. So Chuk Chuk kind of showed us that chickens are pretty amazing animals. and the saying, you are what you eat, would absolutely ring true. So really from that, it was thinking about how we could kind of really make the eggs shine on the plate, and so rich yolk was something. I think there was a time as well in the hospitality sector where one of our local chefs, who was a Michelin-starred chef, helped us develop the rich yolk diet, and he abused the eggs in the kitchen in so many different ways, and because we really wanted that colour to come through in any form, whether you're making pasta or patisserie or whatever it is, and carry the flavour, the depth of flavour was really important. So we spent quite some time developing that rich yolk diet, which is now that's our USP for the rich yolk egg. So that's set in stone. So yeah.
Did you expect, your products to end up being used in Michelin-star restaurants?
Oh my God, no! But it's interesting. So with the rich yolk egg, we specifically focused on hospitality. That was really important. So there was a need for chefs to, chefs are artists. What they're doing is amazing, and and egg is in so many dishes. It's so versatile. So we for a chef to be able to put all that effort into using a product that's so widely used, you want it to make sure it sings on every plate. So that was really important. So yeah, we launched rich yolk with the hospitality sector, and all the amazing chefs who have got behind that and use it today endorse that, and it keeps us on our toes, because in different weathers, hot sunny weather is a nightmare for chickens, and that has an effect on the eggs, and then the chefs are like, wow, what's happening? And so you're always trying to, once you set something off, there was always lots of variables. So like any farming and producing any kind of food, there are always those variables. So yeah.
And I guess at the beginning, well, throughout the whole thing, you've been running a farm, raising children and building a business all at the same time. What kind of part would you say your resilience has played in that?
Oh, I just think it's blind stupidity, probably. I don't know experience, but I really enjoy it, so it doesn't feel like work. And I think there's also it's really important to recognise things you enjoy and are good at, and things that you're really rubbish at. And I have a long list of those. So I have also a long list of amazing people who are really good at all the things I'm not. So yes, and that's the key to our business is having that balance. Yeah.
And obviously that, you've identified that, but what within that, you've taken a family farm that had 14,000 birds to 200,000, and across 16 farms.
We're a bit more than that today.
Oh, right. Okay. Maybe even more. Yeah. What decisions along the way do you think have been the most pivotal ones you've had to make to lead to this?
For me, it's everything is around people, and it's really important to recognise that. And however, I think it's making sure that you're working with people who you like and you can trust and have similar values to yourself, and can really, you've got a team then, you're driving forward for the same reason. And and it comes down to working with the right farmers, working with the right team members, and working with the right, support businesses, hauliers, all those sorts of things. Everyone matters, and everyone is kind of analysed before they join our business. So or a part of our business. So and that's been really, really important. Yes, it's sometimes it can lead to costs being higher. Sometimes it leads to shorter relationships because things haven't worked out, and lots of bumps along the way. But I think on the whole, it works out right in the end if you enjoy working with that person or that other company or whatever it is.
What do you think have been some of the biggest challenges that sort of you face as a business, but also, I guess, the wider industry? What do you think are some of the biggest challenges? Obviously, there are a lot of difficulties in the headlines facing farmers at the moment. How do you sort of feel about the industry?
There are loads of challenges at the moment. I think probably more so now that seems slightly more out of the farmer's control. Just putting Mother Nature aside for a minute, which is a massive challenge in itself. I think decisions being made by government at the moment are perhaps not completely educated decisions, and I think there needs to be a little bit of listening and respect of where food comes from in the UK would help. I think overall there's I think every time there are challenges, there are also opportunities. And you think of Clarkson's farm right now, that's done the industry a load of good and really put farming in the spotlight. And people are talking about farming every day. They're talking about food every day. This is our opportunity to really hone in on that and make sure people are really aware of food, of farmers and what it is. We're custodians of the land, and I don't think people quite understand that. And also there's an awful lot of information out there that is perhaps not founded on correct scientific evidence, and I think I wish the general public would be just a little bit more curious than rather taking someone's loud voice that perhaps hasn't got the science and the knowledge behind statements to really dig a bit deeper. So but I do see this this time as an opportunity. Yes, there are challenges. The more challenges there are, the more opportunity there is, and that's how we've got to look at things always.
Obviously, you touched on food a little bit there, and I can see that in that you're described as a lifelong food enthusiast, which I like. How has that kind of shaped the way that St. Ewe Eggs has developed, if it has at all?
We are a company that is all about the food, and the quality of food is very important, but it also goes back to how our farmers are treated, how their animals are treated, and the whole supply chain is really important. When we talk about sustainable farming, that actually starts with a farmer, not with just environment and welfare. It starts with the welfare of the farmer, because if you haven't got a farmer in a good place, then nothing else is going to follow very well. So that is really, really key. And I think, yes, food is just, as I said, we work with some incredible chefs, and I'm just in awe of them, because I'm pretty rubbish at cooking. I can do nursery meals, but that's about it. My children will back me up on that. But no, I think we're so lucky that we can enjoy beautiful food, and Britain has got just such a diverse climate that we produce so much beautiful food, and what we can do with it at different seasons. It's really kind of remembering all those things and celebrating it. Food at the right time of the year, strawberries in the summer and clotted cream in the summer, and it's just really good to be able to think that's what we're about as a business. So yeah, I think that's always in our minds.
And we were speaking about opportunities in the industry as well. And do you have any kind of future plans as a business to kind of capitalise on those opportunities? What sort of things have you got coming up?
Yes, definitely. So we're just in the process of putting in a pasteurisation plant. So we see that there is a real struggle with staffing kitchens and so on. So let's produce some more product that actually makes it easier for restaurants and so on to be able to reduce. You don't have, cracking eggs takes time and it costs money and there's wastage. So let's focus on trying to reduce some of that. So we're seizing that opportunity to be able to produce liquid egg for the kind of restaurant, hotel, food service sector, and then other products from that as well, and trying to really shout out clean label, trying to really shout out British produce, seasonal produce, and so on. So yeah, I can't wait. I'm really excited about the whole pasteurisation plant, because yes. Anyway.
Great.
Obviously, I've seen here as well that once you had to make what sounds like a tough decision to sell your bakery,
Yes.
And focus solely on eggs.
Yes.
So how did you approach a decision like that, which obviously where you have to weigh up passion and sort of pragmatism?
It was so the business started. I started it to really help. I decided I wanted to put the kids through private school when actually the bakery was paying for that. So, but I also really enjoy baking and ended up employing more and more bakers to cook cakes, because I was always on the phone selling eggs or packing eggs. So it was the time came where actually we also needed the space. I needed the bakery to put offices in because we'd run out of space. So it kind of all fell in, and it was really sad. But but I'm going to start doing that again. So it wasn't a finite, a final decision. We will be making cakes again one day.
Excellent.
Yeah. Do you think all the kind of different careers that you've had almost when you were away from the farm, do you think that's all kind of built in together to help you on your journey with St.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I used to menu design I worked for a frozen food company for a while as well, and that used to design menus for them for their ping meals, and then but covered quite the home counties was my sort of area, and then I think that's been really helpful with the bakery. Learning about barcoding and I was selling cakes into retail and food service, so the kind of food legislation and keeping your range quite sweet, really, not too varied and vast. You want your top sellers and stick to those, and yes, just consumer insights as well. Distribution. I had an old Morris van, Morris Minor van, which I used to go off, Crystal, as she was called, and I used to go off delivering around Cornwall. But I never got very far because Cornwall in the summer is an utter nightmare. So learning about distribution very quickly as well, and working and collaborating with distributors to get that working. So so I think all of those things have all helped to understand the egg distribution and growing St. Ewe Eggs has been really helpful. In fact, our barcode GS1 UK I bought for the bakery, and it's all before we apply another barcode to another product. I've got to wade through all my cakes first before we can get to the lines of eggs. So yes, it was. They'll be back.
And where do you kind of see the future for, I suppose, egg producers? And in terms of what the consumer wants, do you think we'll see a change or any new kind of markets or different products opening up? Do you think the sort of the premium side might grow?
I think there's always opportunities and different cultures. The UK has a wide range of cultures now, and just looking around the world at how other countries eat eggs and how they cook with them, and it's inspirational. And I think there's lots of opportunities, and there always will be. So it's kind of just working out what comes first, really.
Do you have any role models for your leadership style of the company?
I don't think I've got a leadership style. I'm really rubbish at that. No, there are lots of amazing people that run businesses, and I don't know if I'm one of them, but I think it's just I'm not terribly great at the numbers. I normally like the innovation. That's what I do, and it's inspiring other people. And I think if you're good at doing that, then that keeps this kind of energy and magnetism to kind of grow and evolve. So I think that's what I do. That's my little part of the business.
I think it's so interesting as well, isn't it? Because it's like you were saying earlier about how farmers have to be, the plumber and electrician as well. And I imagine that's another aspect of it. The kind of management aspect is another thing that you have to learn, I suppose, when you're running a business like this as well. If you're used to, the kind of animal welfare side, and then there's just so many aspects to it, I think, isn't there, that you have to, so many skills you have to have as a farmer, really, and as a business owner.
Yeah, and I think there are incredibly talented people who have got a lot of management training, and they are the right people to be running the business. I wouldn't want to get involved on that side of it, because I'd probably cock it up pretty quickly.
And as a woman in farming as well, what do you what's your experience of being a woman in agriculture? Do you think there's more that the industry needs to develop on that? I suppose there's a bit of a perception maybe that there's a bit more development needed in that area, but what's your experience?
Yeah, I think probably 15 years ago, I would say there was definitely a bit of a stigma around being a woman, heading a business, because I remember going to see prospect farmers that would join us, and some of them wouldn't even talk to me. They would talk to my dad.
Right.
And I think I thought, oh, okay, that's how it's going to be. Well, that's your loss, not mine. But nowadays, I don't see that an issue. I think there are still a lot more men in the farming industry, which at the end of the day, I think whether it's a man or a woman, I think if you're good at what you do, you're going to earn the recognition, and that's how it should be. But I don't. Yeah, the kind of stigma around women running or heading a agricultural business. I think that's, I'd say, nearly non-existent now.
There's so many, I think, inspirational, successful female role models, I think, in the industry now, isn't there? That kind of help to overcome that.
Maybe like you, Bex.
Yeah. Absolutely. We mentioned, you were speaking earlier about how going back to the family farm kind of tied in better with having your sons than the other businesses.
Yeah.
Do you find that having a farming business actually ties in well with motherhood and with family life?
I think the children have to be fairly independent quite quickly, because there are times where, when crisis happens, and it's bedtime for the kids. Well, the crisis is dealt with first, and the kids are staying up helping. And both Josh and Charles have been packing eggs until 9 o'clock at night on a school night, because we've had to get Tesco orders out and things like that, or any supermarket orders. And it's just been that's been part and parcel of our business. I'm terrible. If we have an order in, you just say yes, that's no problem at all. But that's fine. That's how I think that's how farmers operate.
Yeah.
But and at the end of the day, it does. That's I think how people used to be years ago. You just get the animals come first, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've got some sort of lighter questions, maybe,
Go for it.
unless you've got any sort of heavier ones. No.
Go for it.
Okay, so what is your go-to egg dish when you want comfort food?
Oh, it's very decadent. It's scrambled egg and clotted cream. So that's, yeah.
Is there butter in there, or?
Yes, of course.
Yes, lots of butter.
Yeah.
So do you still bake? And
Yes.
if so, yes. What's your signature item?
Well, it's normally a Victoria sponge. But it's actually my mum's birthday tomorrow, and it's our managing director's birthday tomorrow as well. So I've got both cakes waiting to be decorated at the moment, and they're both chocolates, which is probably going to be a letdown because I know Mum and Martin will both want a Victoria sponge. But Lucia wanted to do chocolate, so that's what it is.
And what's the best piece of advice you've ever received in farming, and the worst?
Oh my gosh, I've got a brain like a sieve, so I probably can't even remember. But I don't know if it's just to deal with farming. It just generally, life-wise, I would say, just to be true to your values. And I was still running our business up nearly 5.8 million, I think, on my gut feel, because I was so bad at numbers. But as long as the margin was there, that was the most important thing. That was my dad taught me that. But everything else was just gut feel. Do I like dealing with you? Yeah, well, we'll deal with you. yeah, I think just making sure you know your strengths and weaknesses, and then surround the people around yourself. Surround yourself with the right people to
Sounds like you work very intuitively.
yeah, which probably drives everybody mad. But there we are. Yeah, yes, worst decisions. The thing is, are they worst decisions or advice? Because if you make mistakes, you're actually learning from them. So is that a I don't see that as mistakes or worse advice. You think it's if it's not gone right, then do it differently next time. But you've learned from that, so it's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Every mistake's a lesson. Yeah.
As long as they're not too expensive. Yeah.
And finally, and you don't have to answer this one because it is a bit of a big question, but what would you hope for your legacy in British agriculture to be?
My legacy. Ooh. Um, I would really like farmers to value their time, and if anything, just to remind, if I could just spread that word, just to remind people, remind farmers that every hour they put in, that needs to be valued, and it needs to be valued by themselves, and in turn the whole supply chain. And you know, if value their hours, value their hours with their family, as well as working in 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 the farmyard or on the field or whatever. But just, yes, value your time. Yeah.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you'd like to say generally that we sort of haven't covered, Bex?
Oh my goodness, no, I don't think so. I just, yeah, I think it's just important to remember how important farmers are to the
Yeah.
UK, even if our government are not quite thinking along the same lines at the moment, and that actually producing food is such an important job, the main job, because people can't live without food. So just remember how important you are. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah, that's a lovely note to end on, I
Yeah.
think, unless you had any other questions.
No, I
Yeah.
think we're very well covered, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, that was really good, Bex. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
no,
so
well, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity.
Well, Sarah, I don't know about you, but I think that's probably one of the most interesting conversations we've had on the podcast so far.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think she was so interesting and so much fun to talk to. Yeah, I really enjoyed that chat, and I think she had so many different interesting points about her own journey and also the wider industry as well.
Yes, I mean, a lot of the things that sort of stuck out as well were her attitude towards business,
Hmm.
very intuitive in the way she built teams, acknowledging her own weaknesses. I think there was a lot of lessons that anyone could actually take from that, especially if you're looking at running a business yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And she was so humble as well, but clearly she's been hugely successful. So I think the kind of strategies that she's employed have obviously really worked. And I liked that she said she sort of emphasized the importance of liking what you do and liking the people that you work with. And I imagine that she's built a really strong, positive team.
And since we recorded, you've also mentioned to me about her concern for farmers' welfare coming
Mm.
across
Yeah,
in it. Um, well, she had that quite nice line at the end about farmers making sure they value their time.
yeah, and I thought that was one of the things that really stuck out to me is that, you know, as we know, I think farmers are so good at looking after their farm, looking after their animals, and maybe not so much themselves. But I liked that for Bex, she kind of stressed that, you know, sustainability starts with looking after yourself as well as your animals.
Yeah, and you know, as we know, life on a farm is not a 9 to 5 job. It's
Hmm.
all hours, whenever, bad weather, bad, unlucky events. There's not a lot you can do to control it. So I
Yeah.
think it is really important that people take that message and listen to it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's tough, but I think it is so easy to perhaps not prioritize your well-being, but I think it is really important.
Mm,
And like we discussed as well, obviously the weather has a huge impact. Government policy recently is having a huge impact in creating a really tough environment for farmers. Although I really loved that Bex had this really positive attitude that the more challenges there are, the more opportunities there are. And I think that is another thing that really stood out to me, is that she has just got this really, really positive attitude.
And I think that came across as well in her attitude towards mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, the way she framed it is, there's not really, as long as you learn from each mistake, it's not really a mistake, it's not a problem. You just have to make sure that each one is treated as a lesson.
Yeah, that's true. It's a really nice way of looking at it, I think. And people, in general, don't probably talk enough about mistakes. And it's probably very easy, especially in an industry that's quite isolated, to think that you're the only person that's having these experiences or that things aren't going right for. And so I thought that was quite nice to acknowledge that mistakes do happen. You know, she's got a very successful business, but she's obviously had lots and lots of mistakes, and she's learned from them. And I think that's one thing we want to do on the podcast as well, isn't it? Is sort of give this kind of lifeline to people, and with the Farmer's Voice episodes as well, to kind of show this is what other farmers are doing, and not everyone's getting it perfectly all the time.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's getting it perfectly all the
Definitely
time.
not.
No.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting as well that she was talking about the need for people to respect where food comes. I think it comes from. I think that's such a big thing, and acknowledging farmers as custodians of the land. And she mentioned as well Clarkson's Farm, and how that kind of gives us an opportunity to connect a bit more with the public and get some of these messages across, because I do think that's one thing we see a lot, that we're lacking that connection with the public. Sometimes people don't realise really where their food comes from, or perhaps see farmers in the right way. And you know, she mentioned the sort of scientific aspect as well, that people will read something in the mainstream media perhaps, and it doesn't always give an entirely accurate perception of farming. And you know, we hear these statistics sometimes that farming is really bad for the environment, but actually sometimes those stats are based on global figures and not just UK figures, which makes a big difference as well. So I thought that was really interesting.
So thanks again to Bex for joining us on the podcast. As we said before, it was a fantastic opportunity to have a great chat with a very interesting individual.
And thank you again to our sponsor, Larkin Gowan.
And finally, thank you again to our listeners for tuning in. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating. And if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to email us at podcasts@farmersguide.co.uk. Until then, happy farming.
Catch you next time.